USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
My name is Arnold Yeschin, and I was born and raised in Far Rockaway, Queens, New York. I was drafted in 1965. September 25th, 1965 was my lucky day, because obviously I'm still here, so that worked out. My older brother was during the Korean War, but was lucky enough not to go. We were just going through a tragedy with my older brother who developed Hodgkin's disease back then, and he passed away just before I was drafted. And this is a picture of my niece, Jill. This is a picture of her 50 years later to the day. We were at a wedding with friends. Yeah, I'm still very close to my niece. Obviously, she has 3 beautiful boys. I have a younger brother, Neil, who stayed out. He was 1Y until he was 26. And then once he got 26, he was safe and we didn't have to worry about him. I trained in Fort Devens, Massachusetts. Normally the military doesn't allow you to stay together. It's 4 weeks training and you switch to another unit and then go to another unit and another unit. And after 4 or 5 months, they finally put you someplace. Our unit, we were supposed to go to the Dominican Republic. I went home telling my parents I was not going to Vietnam. Came back from my leave, and guess what? We went down through the Panama Canal, up to LA, spent 48 hours in LA, and then across the Nam. I am Jewish, I'd like to say. So I had a chaplain who was very, very good to everybody, including me. It happened to have been that the Navy doctor on that ship, the U.S.N.S. Darby, was Jewish, and they had service every Friday night. The first Friday night, we had maybe 20-something guys at the service, and the next Friday night, we had 650 guys at the service. It seemed like everybody else found out that we had wine. And all of a sudden, there became a lot of Jewish personnel. The chaplain was killed. Friendly fire, our first major operation. It was a battalion operation. There were 4 companies there. In the middle of the night, all of a sudden, 3 rounds of artillery land behind me. I mean us, my company, and the chaplain was killed. So the first operation out was friendly fire. So I guess you can, from there you don't know what's going to happen. Well, basically we would get up in the morning, get on a helicopter, drop someplace. You landed in a rice paddy, and you're not sure if it's a hot LZ because when you're going in, the machine gunners are protecting you, but we would land, get into our positions, and then from there, we would walk all day. Sometimes you get a helicopter back to your camp. Other times you set up your perimeter at the end of the day, and then you're gonna do another walking all day through rice paddies, pineapple fields. You just don't know what you're gonna do. In Ninh, which was the 196th Light Infantry, which is this unit, we were near what's called the Black Virgin Mountain. Another friendly fire story. We set up a company post, and then they had forward observers. So there were 6 of us that was forward observers. I was the RTO, and we were set up in a straight line. We put out our Claymore mines, and everything was set up. And in the middle, I had to click twice. I would get clicked twice from headquarters behind, and then I would click to show that I wasn't sleeping. It was late at night, let's put it that way. And we walked a lot all day. I mean, we were out in the boonies, in the jungles, and the sergeant, me, and another guy. So there were 5 of us. Sergeant yells, "Halt!" So I'm going, oh God, you know, I'm looking out in front. I don't see anything, and I definitely not hearing anything. I mean, he's like a few yards away from me. And he yells again, and I'm going, okay, shit. So release, and we're looking, and then after the 3rd time, you're supposed to blow your claymores. And he blew the claymores, blew our claymores, and we start to fire this way, and I'm looking. I look, and I see his traces are going this way. And you're supposed to be shooting this way. Because I see 1, 2, I see 3 tracers. So I yell, "Cease fire, cease fire." The machine gunner to his side goes, "I'm hit." So I crawl over to the machine gunner, and I look, I go, "What the matter?" He goes, "Obi," and I look, and I go, "Okay, you're fine. You rolled over on your bayonet. You're not hit." So I go, "Where's Hauser?" He goes, "He's to my right." And I go, "Hauser?" No answer. So I told the machine gunner to stay. I crawled over, and Hauser is sitting, leaning against a tree, just like this. So I put my hand to the back of his head, and I just laid him down. He was killed. The sergeant shot him. They made a mistake. They put whatever you can fit on the Darby. Maybe, you know, it was like the whole I guess it's division, whatever we were. It was one ship. And the bottom line is, we landed, and then exactly a year to the day, you're going home. So 3 or 4 months into our tour, they started pulling guys out of the 196th, sending them to the 4th Infantry, the Big Red Ones, whatever. And I happened to have been sent to the 25th, which is, if you look on a map of Vietnam, it's really like a straight drive down from Tay Ninh to Cu Chi, and then a little further south is Saigon. Some days were a lot easier than others. We were in a pineapple field, and we were just going from dike to dike, you know, and I stopped to tie my shoelaces, and Cole, who was to my left, I was on the left flank, and I stopped to tie my shoes, and then he came over and took my spot. And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, No, I want to be on the flank. You switch with me." I go, "Yeah, okay, no problem, if that's what you want." So we stepped off, and we're like 5 yards down, and all of a sudden we were ambushed. We had a fire, so we're shooting, and Sergeant yells out, you know, "What's going on?" And then I look to my left, and I go, "Well, Cole's not here. And they come over, and I said, "We got to go get him." And they go, so we started to advance after it was over, and he was killed. I was in Vietnam during the Israeli-Arab conflict, the 6-Day War, and the guys knew I was Jewish, and when I was in the 25th, the Manchus, my nickname was the Manchu Jew. The guys all come over to me after they read the Stars and Stripes. They all came over and said, "Hey, could you bring your boys over here so we can all go home soon, you know?" when you're under 30 days. The unwritten law is you're a short timer. They said, listen, we're going to give you E5 today on the spot. Then when you get home, we're going to give you E6. And that's what your pay grade will be when you get out of it, you know. And I respectfully said no. So he tried to get me to do some patrols and stuff. And the worst thing was, I'm leaving on the 2-ton the next morning to go home, to get out of the unit. The night before, he says, you're going on an ambush patrol. You're going out on patrol. I, kind of flipped out. And I said, okay. So I took it, actually within the few hours that I had, I went all the way up to the battalion commander. I said, I'm getting on a 2-ton tomorrow morning. Why is he making me go on this patrol, right? The captain finally said something. They all said, listen, you gotta go. So we had some banter on the patrol going out. And the next morning, thank God, nothing happened. All the guys came over and, you're going home, you're going home. I go, yeah, and that, thanks to that nice guy. And he came over and I said, can I talk to you off the record out here? And he goes, yeah, if you want to. I go, and I called him a few different names. And he goes, I could really bring you up on charges. I go, you ask any of these other guys here if I said anything. And we went back to the base camp, and that's when I shaved my Manchu mustache. We're in Saigon getting ready to go, right? So they put you in a big, big room, right? And there's bins, the garbage bins where you throw everything in there. Sergeant Major comes out and he goes, okay, you guys are all going home. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna tell you all the MPs and everybody, we're gonna leave. You guys will have 10 minutes. Anything in your bags or anything on you that you think might not get out of country, I want to see in those bins. Otherwise, it's the brig. MPs, everybody walks out. Those bins were filled up in 5 minutes with stuff that you could not believe that obviously the guys had uniforms that you wanted to take home or whatever it was. Sergeant Major comes walking back in the room, looks at the bins and goes, you guys are out of here. And then I got on a plane and came home. When I knocked on the door, my mother goes, who's there? I go, it's me. You heard a scream that beyond. My brother came to the door with a baseball bat because he had no idea why my mother was screaming. In the beginning, it was kind of tough. So I was like sleeping and my brother came in to wake me, and I clocked him and went looking for a weapon on the side, Then a week later, I walking with my brother, and kids lit off firecrackers. I took my brother and threw him on the ground and yelled, incoming. My third wife, who was 40 years, baby, 40 years, so God bless. Third time is the charm. Third time is the charm. Why don't you just go sit and talk with somebody? It can't hurt. She goes, so I set an appointment up. I went into Hicksville. And I walked in, I sat down. And when they finally came, woman came in, Jean, I think her name was. She sat down and she says, okay, why are you here? And I looked up and I cried. She went, okay. She turns to the type machine and she goes, we're going to set you up now with. So, you know, you don't realize when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, you know. For the first years, I never spoke about Vietnam. I just didn't. And my daughter is now 35, and she volunteered me when she was in 8th grade in public school here in Plainview. And I've been doing it for 20 years now, going into Matlin Middle School with the teacher's father, who's also a Vietnam veteran. And we speak to the kids, 8th grade, and sometimes we speak to kids of VFW Post, 5942. It's been like cathartic, you know, like it's a lot better, because I feel the more you express it, the more you talk about it, rather than let it sit and think about it, you know, it helps, really helps. And my nephew was in Kuwait, 1st Marine Unit in there. Then when he came home, tells my brother, he says, I have to talk to Uncle Arnie. So my brother got me a ticket, I flew out, and we sat for 5 days, just walking and talking. He gave me an experience, I gave him an experience. You know, tried to, and I said, Stephen, you can't hold this anger in. You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah. And that's the other thing that I don't think that they did correctly. They didn't use Vietnam veterans for the younger generation. I mean, just, not that we're smarter, but we went through it and we dealt with it a certain way. So maybe we could have helped and talked and worked something out, you know? But that's only my opinion.